I froze when she texted, "I need space for my depression." I replied, "Do what you want," then offered support and respected her silence. While dates were canceled, until a stranger reached out. Instead, I'm 26, work as a software engineer, and 6 months ago I met someone who seemed perfect. Her name was Renly. She was 28, had this creative energy that pulled you in. We met through mutual friends at an art gallery opening, one of those pretentious downtown things where everyone drinks cheap wine and pretends to understand abstract paintings. She came up to me while I was staring at this massive canvas that looked like someone had just thrown paint at it, and said, "You look confused." "I am," I admitted. "Is this supposed to be something specific, or am I just not getting it?" She laughed. "It's supposed to make you feel something. Whether that's confusion or enlightenment or rage, that's up to you." We ended up talking for 2 hours. She was smart, funny, had this way of making you feel like you were the most interesting person in the room. We exchanged numbers, and for the next 3 months, it felt like I'd found something real. We'd text constantly. She'd send me photos of random things during her day: coffee shop cats, weird street art, screenshots of dumb tweets that made her laugh. We'd have these late-night phone calls where we'd talk about everything from childhood memories to what we wanted out of life. She told me she worked in marketing but was taking some time off to figure out her next move, said she'd been through a rough period and was focusing on her mental health. I respected that. I've dealt with my own struggles with anxiety, so I understood needing space to work on yourself. We went on actual dates too, coffee shops, museums, this one Vietnamese restaurant she loved. She'd always suggest places near her neighborhood, said it was easier for her right now given everything she was dealing with. I didn't push. Then about 2 months in, something shifted. She started taking longer to respond to texts. When we'd make plans, she'd cancel last minute. Always had a reason, wasn't feeling well, work thing came up, her roommate needed help with something. I tried to be understanding, tried to give her the space she said she needed. But it started to feel less like space, and more like I was being slowly phased out. 3 weeks ago, she sent me a long text. One of those messages you know is going to be bad before you even read it. The message said she was going through a really dark period with her depression, that she needed to step back from everything, social media, dating, even most of her friendships, that it wasn't about me, it was about her needing to focus on healing. I read that message sitting in my car outside work, and my immediate reaction was concern. I texted back asking if there was anything I could do to help, if she needed someone to talk to, if she wanted me to just be there without any pressure. She didn't respond. I waited 3 days. Nothing. Called once. Went straight to voicemail. Sent one more text saying I respected her need for space, but I was there if she needed anything. Still nothing. That's when I made a decision that probably seems invasive, but I'm glad I did it. I reached out to one of her friends, this girl Mara who I'd met once when we'd all gone to a concert together. I sent Mara a message on Instagram explaining the situation, asking if Renly was okay, if there was anything I should know about helping someone through a depressive episode. Mara's response came back an hour later, and it wasn't what I expected. "Hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but Renly's engaged. Has been since 2019. She lives with her fiancé Taryn in a house they bought together last year." I sat there staring at that message for probably 10 minutes. Read it over and over, thinking maybe I'd misunderstood. But there was no misunderstanding. The words were pretty fucking clear. Engaged. Since 2019. Living with someone. The entire 3 months we'd been together. Dates, late-night calls, all of it. She'd had a whole other life. A fiancé, a shared mortgage. I called Mara immediately. "Are you sure?" I asked when she picked up. "Like, absolutely sure?" "Yeah, I'm sure. I've been to their house, met Taryn multiple times. They've been together like 5 years. She told me she lived with a roommate. Her roommate is her fiancé. Why didn't you say something when we met?" Mara hesitated. "Honestly, I thought you knew. I thought maybe they had some kind of open relationship thing. It's not really my business to get in the middle of people's arrangements." There was no arrangement. I had no fucking idea. After I hung up with Mara, I just sat there trying to process it. Every conversation we'd had replayed in my head. Every excuse for why I couldn't come to her place. every canceled plan, every "I need space" message. It all made sense now in the worst possible way. I texted Renly, not to yell, not to accuse, just, "I know about Taryn." Her response came back in under a minute. "I don't know what you're talking about. Your fiancé, Taryn, the person you've been living with since 2019. You're crazy. I don't have a fiancé. Mara told me everything. Mara's a liar. She's been trying to ruin my life for years. I can't believe you'd trust her over me." I screenshot that exchange and sent it to Mara. She sent back, "She did the same thing to the last guy. Accused me of lying, said I was jealous, whole 9 yards." That's when I made another decision. I blocked Renly on everything. Phone, social media, email. Just cut her off completely, because here's what I realized sitting in my car at midnight looking at those messages. I didn't need to prove anything. I didn't need her to admit it. The evidence was clear enough. And arguing with her was just going to be more of the same manipulation she'd been pulling for months. I drove home feeling like I'd dodged something massive. Not just a bullet, more like a grenade. The next day, I called my best friend Zane. He's one of those tech guys who knows how to find anything online, and I needed his help with something. "Can you find someone's social media accounts?" I asked. "Like if they have secret profiles." "Probably. What's going on?" I explained the whole situation. Zane was quiet for a minute, then said, "Send me her name and any handles you know. Give me an hour." 45 minutes later, my phone rang. "Found something," Zane said. "She's got a private Instagram under a different name. Profile's locked, but I can see who follows it. Bunch of people from the area. Some guy named Taryn Wolf who's definitely her. He's got couple photos on his public account. Can you see anything from her private one?" "Not directly, but one of her followers has a public account that tags her in stuff. Posted a photo from 2 weeks ago at some club downtown. She's in it." 2 weeks ago, I said slowly. "That's right when she told me she was going through a dark period and needed to step back from everything." "Yeah. She's front and center in the photo. Looks pretty happy for someone in a depressive episode." That hit different than I expected. I'd been trying to rationalize this whole thing. Maybe she really was struggling and had made bad choices while dealing with mental health issues. But seeing evidence that she was out partying while telling me she was too depressed to respond to texts, that wasn't someone struggling. That was someone lying. "There's more," Zane said. "I found 3 other photos from that same weekend. Different bars, different outfits. She checked into a hotel on the other side of town with the caption, 'Freedom above all.' Freedom. While she was telling me she needed space to heal." "Send me everything," I said. I spent that night going through the screenshots Zane sent. Photos of Renly at clubs, restaurants, hotels, check-ins all over the city, posts about living her best life, about independence, about not being tied down. All while she'd been dating me. All while she'd been engaged to someone else. The next morning, I did something that felt risky but necessary. I found Taryn Wolf on Facebook and sent him a message. "Hey, I know this is going to sound insane, but I think we need to talk about Renly Drew. Can I call you?" I didn't expect a response. Figured he'd either ignore it or tell me to fuck off. But 20 minutes later, my phone rang from an unknown number. "This is Taryn," the voice said. "What do you know about Renly?" We talked for 2 hours. 2 hours of comparing notes, matching timelines, discovering that we'd both been living in completely different versions of reality. Taryn had been with Renly for 5 years. They'd gotten engaged in 2019, bought a house together in 2023. He thought everything was fine, or as fine as it could be given what he called her episodes. "She goes through these phases," he explained. "Gets distant, says she needs space for her mental health. Sometimes she'll disappear for days. I thought she was just working through her depression." "How often does this happen?" "Every few months. Usually lasts a week or 2, then she comes back and things go back to normal. She always says she went to stay with a friend or got a hotel room to decompress." "Did you ever verify that?" Silence on the other end. I trusted her. She was dealing with something real, and I didn't want to be the asshole who demanded proof she was where she said she was. "Taryn, I don't think she was decompressing. I think she was with other people." "I know," he said quietly. "I've known for a while. Or suspected anyway. just didn't want to believe it. He told me about finding texts on her phone 2 years ago, flirty messages with someone she claimed was just a friend. About the time he'd shown up at a hotel she said she was staying at alone and found her with someone else. About how every time he confronted her, she'd break down, say she was sick, say she needed help, and he'd feel like shit for pressing the issue. She uses her mental health as a shield, Taryn said. Every time I try to have a real conversation about what's going on, it becomes about her depression, about how I'm not being supportive, about how my questioning her is making everything worse. I told him about the photos Zane found, about the club appearances and hotel check-ins while she'd been telling me, and presumably him, that she needed space to deal with her mental health. Jesus Christ, he said, I'm such an idiot. You're not an idiot. She's good at this. How many others do you think there are? That question hung in the air between us, because if she'd been doing this with me, and doing it with whoever that guy at the hotel was 2 years ago, how many others were there in between? Taryn suggested we meet in person, compare more notes, figure out what the full picture looked like. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our places the next day. He looked exactly how I felt, tired, confused, betrayed. We sat down with our laptops and phones and started going through everything. She sent me this text in March of last year, Taryn said, showing me his phone. Word for word, I'm struggling right now and I need some space to work through things. It's not about you. It's about me needing to focus on healing. Please understand. I pulled up my phone. She sent me almost the exact same thing 3 weeks ago. We compared more messages. The I need space texts were identical. The it's not you, it's me explanations used the same language. Even the way she'd ended conversations, always with some version of I just need time to work on myself, followed the same script. She's got a playbook, I said. How long were you two together? 3 months. You? 5 years. But I found messages going back 3 years ago with someone named Marcus, military guy, stationed overseas. She'd been dating him for 6 months before he found out about me. My stomach dropped. 6 months? He messaged me on Facebook in 2022, sent me screenshots of their conversations. I confronted her. She had a breakdown, said she'd been confused about what she wanted but she chose me. I believed her. Who else? Taryn pulled out a notebook, actual paper, like he'd been keeping track. Marcus, definitely. Then there was someone named Jordan in 2023. I found texts but never got confirmation. Now you. Probably others I don't know about. Jesus. The thing that kills me is how good she is at it. She knows exactly what to say to make you feel like the asshole for questioning her. Uses her mental health as a get-out-of-jail-free card every single time. We sat there for a while, both processing the reality of what we'd uncovered. This wasn't someone who'd made a mistake. This was someone with a system, a routine, a methodology for juggling multiple relationships while maintaining plausible deniability. What do we do? I asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to just walk away and let her keep doing whatever she's doing. But another part of me thinks people should know what she's capable of. Have you talked to her since you figured this out? He shook his head. I wanted to get all the information first. Didn't want her to spin it before I knew the full story. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know you're talking to Taryn. You need to stop. He's not a good person and you're being manipulated. I showed it to Taryn. He laughed. Not a funny laugh. More of a, this is absurd laugh. Let me guess, he said. She's going to tell you I'm abusive, or controlling, or that we have some arrangement and I'm just jealous. How did you know? Because that's what she told Marcus when he tried to confront me. Said I was violent, that she was scared of me, whole thing. He backed off because he didn't want to put her in danger. Took me months to track him down and show him that nothing she'd said about me was true. I blocked the unknown number. So what's the play? I'm done with her, Taryn said. Been done for a while, just needed the proof to make it stick. The house is in both our names, but I have documentation of every payment I've made. She's contributed maybe 10%. I'm going to have my lawyer handle getting her out. And the other stuff? He looked at me. What would you do? I thought about it. About Renly sitting somewhere, probably already working on her next target. About the script she'd use, the The same "I'm struggling" routine that had worked on me, on Taryn, on Marcus, probably on Jordan, and whoever else we didn't know about. "I'd want people to know," I said. "Not for revenge. Just so they don't end up where we are." Taryn nodded slowly. "Her parents don't know. Her friends don't know. Or if they do, they're complicit. Everyone thinks she's just this sweet girl who struggles with depression. Then maybe they should know the truth." We spent the next hour compiling everything. Screenshots of identical messages she'd sent to both of us. Photos of her out partying while claiming she was too depressed to function. Taryn's documentation of other relationships we'd uncovered. A timeline showing the overlaps. "What are you going to do with this?" Taryn asked when we'd finished. "Send it to the people who should know. Her parents, her close friends, anyone who's been covering for her or buying into the narrative. She's going to lose her mind. Probably. But we're not lying about anything. We're just showing people what we found." Taryn saved everything to a shared drive. We both had copies of all the evidence. Before we left the coffee shop, he asked me one more question. "Do you feel bad about this? About exposing her?" I thought about that. About the 3 months I'd spent thinking I was building something real with someone. About the gut punch of finding out she'd been engaged the whole time. About Taryn's 5 years of being manipulated and gaslit. "No," I said. "She made these choices. We're just making sure people know what those choices were." We parted ways with a promise to keep each other updated. I drove home feeling strange. Not quite vindicated. Not quite satisfied. Just clear. Like I finally understood what had been happening and what needed to happen next. That night, I sat down and wrote an email to Renly's parents. I'd met them once, briefly, when Renly and I had run into them at a restaurant. They'd seemed nice, normal people who clearly loved their daughter. I kept the email factual, explained that I'd been dating their daughter, found out she was engaged, compared notes with her fiancé, discovered a pattern, attached the evidence, ended with, "I'm not looking for anything from you. I just think you should know what's been happening." I sent similar emails to 3 of her friends, people whose names I knew from her stories, whose profiles I could find online. Same message, same evidence, same conclusion. Then I waited. The response came faster than I expected. The next morning, my phone lit up with texts from the unknown number again. "How dare you contact my family? You're a psychopath. Taryn and you are both stalkers who can't handle rejection." I didn't respond, just screenshot the messages and added them to the evidence file. Then Taryn called me. She showed up at the house this morning, crying, saying she'd made mistakes but she wanted to work things out. When I told her no, she completely flipped, started screaming that I was ruining her life, that I'd turned everyone against her. "What did you do?" Told her to leave. She wouldn't. Said she had just as much right to be there as I did since her name's on the deed. Is she still there? I called the cops. She left before they got here, but I filed a report. My lawyer says with the documentation I have of payments, I can force a sale and get my equity out. Jesus. I'm sorry, man. Don't be. I'm just glad it's finally ending. She called her mom after she left my place. Her mom called me, said Renly told her that you and I are working together to harass her, that we're making up lies because we can't accept that she doesn't want either of us. Did you tell her the truth? Sent her the same evidence packet we compiled. Haven't heard back yet. 3 days went by. 3 days of silence from Renly. But messages from other people, friends of hers who'd seen the evidence, acquaintances asking if it was true, even Marcus reaching out to thank us for finally exposing what he'd tried to warn Taryn about years ago. Then Renly's social media accounts disappeared. All of them. The public ones, the private ones Zane had found, everything. Just gone. Taryn texted me. Her mom called. Said Renly admitted to some of it. Not all, but enough. They're getting her into therapy. Her dad was apparently furious. Said he had no idea she was capable of this. How do you feel about that? Honestly, I don't care anymore. She's not my problem. The lawyer's handling the house stuff. I'm just ready to move on. I felt the same way. Not angry anymore. Not hurt. Just done. Like I'd been carrying something heavy without realizing it, and now I'd finally set it down. A week later, I got a message from Mara, the friend who'd first told me about Taryn. I heard what happened. For what it's worth, I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner. I really did think you knew. It's not your fault. Can I ask you something? Are you okay? I thought about that. Was I okay? I'd spent 3 months falling for someone who'd been lying about literally everything. I'd had to team up with a stranger to uncover just how deep the deception went. I'd been part of exposing someone who'd positioned herself as a victim. Yeah, I told Mara. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. Because here's the thing I realized through all of this. I almost got locked into something catastrophic. If Renly hadn't ghosted me, if I hadn't reached out to Mara, if I'd just believed the "I'm depressed and need space" narrative, I could have ended up where Taryn was. 5 years in, engaged, financially entangled with someone who was never actually building a life with me. I dodged an atomic bomb. My friend Zane called me a few days after everything settled. You good, man? Yeah, I'm good. That was some wild shit. Tell me about it. What did you learn? I thought about that. What had I learned? That people can be really good at lying. That mental health struggles can be weaponized by people with bad intentions. That sometimes you need to dig deeper when things don't add up. I learned that transparency matters, I finally said. Like, actual transparency. If someone's hiding parts of their life, if their story doesn't match up, if you're getting blocked from seeing the full picture, that's not a red flag. That's a red banner the size of a football field. Fair. And I learned that you can't fix people. Renly's issues, whatever they are, aren't mine to solve. They're hers. And if she's using those issues to manipulate people, that's a choice she's making. Heavy. Yeah. I haven't heard from Renly since her accounts disappeared. Don't know where she is, what she's doing, whether she actually got help or just found a new city to run the same game in. And honestly, I don't care. That chapter's closed. What I do know is this. Depression is real. Mental health struggles are legitimate. But using those struggles as a shield to cover deliberate, calculated lying, that's not mental illness. That's manipulation. I spent weeks feeling guilty for questioning whether Renly was really as depressed as she claimed. Felt like an asshole for wondering if she was exaggerating or using it as an excuse. But the evidence was clear. She was living a completely different life than the one she was showing me. Partying while claiming she was too depressed to text back. Making plans with other people while telling me she needed space from everyone. That's not depression. That's deception. And I'm grateful I found out when I did. Grateful for Mara telling me the truth. Grateful for Zane's tech skills uncovering the private accounts. Grateful that Taryn was willing to compare notes instead of getting defensive. Grateful for all of it, even though the process sucked. Because now I know what to look for. Now I know that when someone's story doesn't add up, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to verify. It's okay to protect yourself instead of just taking everything on faith. I'm not cynical about relationships now. Not jaded or bitter or convinced everyone's a liar. I just have better boundaries, better instincts, better understanding of the difference between supporting someone through hard times and enabling someone who's taking advantage of your kindness. The right person won't require you to ignore obvious inconsistencies. They won't use their mental health as a reason you can't ask basic questions. They won't have whole parts of their life that you're not allowed to know about. They'll just be honest. It's really that simple. I'm 26. I've got time to find someone who actually wants what I want. A real relationship built on actual trust. Not whatever game Renly was playing with multiple people across multiple years. And if I'd ignored the warning signs, if I'd just accepted her "I need space for my depression" explanation and waited around for her to come back, I'd still be playing that game without knowing it. So yeah, I'm more than okay. I'm relieved. I'm clear. I'm free. And I'm never ignoring my gut again.